by the time I came to America, after, I was 20, so I went to high school and then came. I went to night school to learn how to type in English. And when I came to America, I could work as a stenographer, listening to dictations on the machine, dictaphone machine, and type all day on an electric typewriter. And my supervisor told me I was a better speller than American high school graduates.
So this was the question I had to ask. If you had pen pals in a lot of different countries, could you write in all of those languages?
I couldn't.
So if you're a correspondent, okay.
English is all I could use, but they wrote to me in their own language. So I had to translate. And I remember one of the pen pals, I didn't know, was a 70-year-old lady, and she sent me a card, a Christmas card, with a Santa Claus, fuzzy kind of Santa Claus, I remember. And she put $1 bill. Oh, and I was, at that time, a $1 was worth 360 yen. Now it's gone up and 140 yen. But anyway, I bought myself a dictionary, Japanese-French dictionary, I remember that, with the 360 yen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, I just wanted to learn the languages they spoke. But English was, of course, the main language. And
then spelling.
Well,
so your supervisor thought you could spell better than...
Better than American high school graduates. And then that was really,
Of course it can.
Yeah, well, along with this lady who gave me $1, I received a letter from a man who was in Kansas City going to osteopathic school. And so we corresponded. I didn't write to them, they wrote to me.
Yeah.
And and he said that he was looking for someone to marry. Oh, wow. And he said, about 6 months later, we were exchanging pictures of our family and getting along very well. And he said, well, can I just send you the money to buy the tickets so you could come and we could be married here in Kansas City? And I said, oh no, that's not what I'm going to do. You come here and meet my mom and get the permission to marry me. Otherwise, I wouldn't marry her. And he did. He was a poor student, still working two jobs and going to school. And I was so surprised, but he did. And so we got married in the American consulate in Kobe. And we took a trip to Tokyo and had a ceremony in a Christian church, and then went on our honeymoon back home and went to see Mount Fuji, and then came back. And then he left back to Kansas City, and I went through the red tapes, and got the airplane ticket and came over by myself.
Wow. Had you, when he flew to Japan to see you, had you ever spoken on the phone? Had you ever, Or did you correspond mostly with
We never
letters?
spoke on the
So you'd
phone.
never heard his voice?
No,
Wow.
I know. It's crazy, I know.
Wow.
But, well, it was something that was the right thing for me to do because I did not have a relative in America. I did not have money. I did not have education. Like maybe if I had some higher education, I could come to another, American college or something. But I only had a high school. And so this was just the right thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can imagine that it would have been a little, I'm guessing, romantic and exciting and
Yes.
a great opportunity and all of the things.
Yes, that's true. And he was handsome. He was handsome, tall and handsome. And so
How long did you live in Kansas City?
we were there for 3 years.
Okay.
Because she just finished freshman, and so he had to have 3 more years, and that's when I worked at the, stenographer work. And then just skip a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Feel free.
I ended up in Lubbock, Texas.
That's a left turn.
My first marriage did not work after my child was born, and so I had to start working again and raise my child, and met a nice man at OCU, night school, and married, and he went to Lubbock. So,
You met him at OCU?
yes.
In Oklahoma?
Yes.
So how did you get from Kansas City to Oklahoma? 'Cause I'm always curious how people end up
Yes,
here.
right. Well, I ended up in Oklahoma because after he graduated, he interned at the Hillcrest Hospital.
I see. And then you stayed.
I
Okay.
stayed. And I started to go to OU during the day. And, so after I got married with Bill Reedy, and I came to Lubbock. He was working all the time, and I was at home taking care of my little one. And then I got very, very depressed. I was crying at the end, on the edge of the couch, just crying every day. My dishes pile up in the sink, and I didn't know why I was crying so much. And my husband finally said, "You go to the doctor. You gotta find out what's going on." And so I said, "Okay." And I went, and this doctor in Lubbock, Texas, his name was Dr. Marable. He took 2 hours to listen to me. I don't know who would do that nowadays, but this doctor did. And at the end, he said, "Okay, this is my prescription, Mitsuno. You go to Lubbock Arts and Garden Center. At night, they teach art, and there are lots of good art teachers, so do that." And I said, "Really? For me?" Because he said, "Just go back to your husband and tell him you need to have about $100 to invest in your brush and ink, paint and tuition." And at that time, it was about $100. I said, "Really? You mean you're going to let me spend that much money on me?" Because all the time I was thinking my husband first, my child second, me last,
Yeah.
But my depression just flew away immediately.
Wow.
And I started to paint, taking lessons, like first landscape, still life, and then the landscape, and then people. And when I started to paint people, I was amazed at myself that I could get the likeness so well, and people started to buy my work.
Did that surprise you? That
Well,
you
at
caught
that
on that you were
time-
able to capture someone's person on paper?
I had never done that.
Yeah.
I had never done that. I just knew that I was drawing all the time when I was a child. And when I had reunion in high school reunion, I went back to Japan, and friends at that time, I was already an artist, so the friend said, "Oh, we used to see your paintings up on the hallway. The teachers always, put your pictures on the wall." And I said, "Really? I don't remember a thing," because I just blocked out all my art. Because, well, going back, I have had a bad experience. I won a children's regional art contest in my 4th grade. I remember I looked out the window, the 2nd floor window, and painted the thatched roofs and bamboo forests in the back. And that was in Crepas, and it was about this big. But that won the gold medal in my grade category, And they, as a gift, they sent me to this famous Japanese artist at that time. Where all the winners from high school, from grade school to high school, would be given an opportunity to study with him one day.
Wow.
And I went there by myself. I had to go by myself, taking a train. And then when I got there, I saw this chair on a pedestal in the middle of the room, and easels all around this room. And I had never seen an easel in my life.
Oh, wow.
I had never seen a model in my life. And so when the teacher was saying what to do, I had no idea what I was supposed to do. So I had to look over the shoulder of this high school student, what he was doing, and try.
Yeah.
I remember that was, you're not supposed to see the easel, paper on the easel, and just draw by eye and do the same thing.
Oh, wow.
So that
And how old were you?
I was 4th grader, so
8, 9, 9.
8. I think it was 8.
Wow.
8. I was 8. No, it was. Yeah, maybe I was close to 9. Yeah, but I was so scared. I didn't like it. And my teacher never came with me, so I was all alone, and it was just terrible experience for me. And so I thought, I'm never going to draw. I'm never going to try. I'm never going to, But so I blocked off all my memory of paintings. And so when my classmates said, "Oh, your pictures were always up there on the wall. Teachers put them up," I didn't remember. Yeah. And so actually, I must have been gifted from a childhood, and I just denied it and denied it and denied it. And that's how it came out as probably a depression. I didn't know. But anyway, that was the, ever since then, I just took off. I became pretty popular, and Lubbock is a hub of the plains, they say. There are lots of small communities, and they all have a little art group, ladies, and they all wanted me to come and do demonstrations, and they would take pictures, and they would print it in their newspaper, local newspaper, and I mean, I was just getting so popular already. I didn't know that I was going to go that quickly.
So you say your husband calls you a damn independent woman.
Yes.
I appreciate that. If I remember when we were talking and putting the show together, you'd said when you started and went to this class in Lubbock and you started drawing people and you really liked people, didn't you go set up somewhere?
Oh, yes. Well,
to draw people?
After Lubbock, we moved to Austin, Texas.
There you go.
That's when my daughter was taking ice skate lessons in the mall. There's an ice skate ring.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that's a nice mall. And in those days, I'd like to paint a person. I would have to ask a neighbor or a friend to sit for me and paint. And if I needed somebody, to hire somebody, you have to pay. And I wanted to draw more people, but they didn't have any ways to do it. And I thought, oh,
and stopping people on the street. Hi, you, sit down. I'm going to paint you.
I decided to go to the mall office and find out if I could set up a little easel with a sign saying, on Saturday, such and such time, an artist will be here to draw. And she said, oh, that would be a wonderful thing for a mall, to call other customers. And so I said, I will pay you 10% of whatever I make. How's that? And she said, okay, that'll be great. And I set up and started to draw in just the charcoal about this big sketch. It took about 30 minutes for each child or each person.
Wow.
And I started to do that with a lamp and a chair, and my chair, that's all. I held my board with a paper on it, and just the charcoal and the eraser. That's all I had.
Wow.
And I did just one after another, and people started to sit on the floor all the way. And another artist was working at the gallery in that mall. And I remember he was looking at what I was doing and didn't say anything, but was mad at me. taking his customers. And anyway, after a while, since it was like I was charging $10 a person,
wow.
And I decided I'm going to charge $25. But then I've got to make it a little worthwhile. I made it a smaller one, but in color, pastel. And I started doing that. Oh, that was really like a hot cake. Everybody wanted it. And so I Actually, another mall people wanted me to do it in front of their gallery, art gallery. And so I did, like, remember Christmas time. I did 12 colored portraits. It took about an hour each, about this small. And I held that board with a paper on it, and then see the person, you know. And my arm, my hand was like this.
I'll bet.
After 12 is like...
That's insane. That's crazy to me. I can't imagine, like,
I
so sore. I
did it.
Wow.
But I was just high. I mean, every time I do it and I go, here it is, they just loved it. And they said, you know, so I was so happy. I didn't know how long I was doing this.
Sure, get that rush once an hour and you could go another hour.
Yeah, I don't remember going to the bathroom either.
Wow.
I was not eating, nothing.
Wow.
And anyway, after that, I did not want to see a face for 4 months.
I'll bet not.
But it was so exciting to me because people, you don't know who the next person is, and if it's a he or a she or a little child, or, you know. And that was the University of Texas town. And people in Christmas time came to visit their children or something. I had a man with a turban and a beard. I had a old lady from Germany. And I remember just all kinds of portraits to do.
So now
what a great training that was.
Absolutely. And then it makes me curious now about your process. Because when you're doing 12 of those a day, then my question is, when you get a new face, you get a new person, a whole different vibe of a creature. Where do you put your pencil down first? Like for you, when you're doing that person, I know you've had the training, but is it the shape of their face? Is it quick, get the shape and an outline down because you're moving fast? Is it grab some detail that you are drawn to in them? Where do you?
I think I had to teach that to the class, and it was hard because I must have had it in my head, how to do, like, top of the head, the top, bottom of the chin, block. And then eye level, whichever, the nose and the mouth and ears and the hair and the shoulder, all kinds of things. But it was so quick in my head that it just, it was intuitive.
Sure.
It was intuitive. And that was why it was so much fun to me. It wasn't, it was surprising to me what comes out, And then when I showed, and I remember that German lady said, da bin ich. That's what she said.
She said what? Da bin ich.
Da bin ich. Da is there. Bin is am, and ich is I.
I'm there.
There am I. That's what she said. Anyway, those are such an exciting time for me, getting people to be so happy with it. And
I think that practice, because one of the things that I've come to admire the most out of artists whose work like yours is so spectacular, is when you watch somebody work. Some of the best artists I watch are so bold. They're not indecisive. They're not going to sit and think. They're not going to question what they're doing. It's just go.
Yeah.
Put the color on the paper. Put the marks on the paper.
Yeah.
And I think that had to be the way you operated. There's no time for hesitation or second guessing or worrying.
And it's sometimes good to rely on that.
Absolutely.
If I started to think, it would be ruined, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been a very exciting career.
We had an opportunity to talk about you coming from Osaka to America, your journey rediscovering art after putting it down, and I can really relate to that. Sometimes when you turn a page, do you know the American idiom, you throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So sometimes you need to turn a page, or you get intimidated or scared of something, you leave the good part behind with what you're trying to leave behind. And then you're back to it, 12 portraits in a day.
Yeah, as I told you, I didn't want to see another face for 4 months.
After the holiday break, I can only imagine. So there's a piece that was kind of missing in here for me, because I'd asked you, I remembered you telling me that you sat up somewhere at a mall, but that was in Austin. Mm-hmm. You had been experiencing some success in Lubbock. Mm-hmm. In the places around where you were teaching. Yeah. Then when you moved, did you feel like that went away and you were starting over? When you got to Austin, or?
Actually, no, because I think Austin had a lot more opportunities.
Yeah, I'll bet. What year did you move to Austin?
1975.
What a great time to be living in Austin, Texas. Yeah, wow, okay.
I loved it, and
I'll bet.
To leave, but.
So how did you grow beyond the portraits in the mall and those pictures? Because you have, since all of that time, if anybody takes a look at your resume, you have studied, you have been moving around, you now have commissioned works, you've had so many shows in different styles of works. How did you get from there to all of this?
I really don't know.
Okay. What came next after the mall?
You know, I have studied with notable, nationally notable artists like John Howard Sandon. Mm-hmm. And Daniel Green. Mm-hmm. Actually, I've taken workshops from them quite a few times.
And were those just things you read across them, you admired them, you found out they were giving a class, and you're like, I'm going to do that?
That's right. That's it. I would buy the books first. Okay. And then study. And when I am convinced I really like their works, I would like to take the classes or workshops when they come to Dallas or, close by. Mm-hmm. Then I was able to actually get their real critiques of my works, so. How'd
that go? What kind of critiques do you know? Well, oh no.
I don't like critiques, I guess.
I understand that.
But Daniel Green is an excellent instructor. Mm. I mean, he is the most meticulous instructor I have ever encountered. He has explanation to everything he does. And one workshop I remember in Dallas, he told us to get out of the room. Oh. And then just come in one at a time. Mm-hmm. And he would give you a choice, like taking the numbers. and then choose where I'm going to stay, to see the model in the room. And then he always had a backdrop cloth. It's stacked high. Different values, different colors, and he had to have everything. There's no accident for him. He had the reason why this backdrop was, the color was placed against this model because of the skin. And
Got it.
it was just overwhelmingly meticulous. I'd rather have it accidental.
So, it's very interesting because I think there are some often very different schools of thought about art and the way that you approach. Sometimes there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's just an expression. This feels right. I'm going to do this way. And you go. And then sometimes there's but absolutely not. There is a way.
Yeah. And I guess that was the difference between him and me. But, I loved his painting. And one time, I think he was divorced or something, and then he was looking for somebody to come to his studio and work. He asked me, but of course I was married and had a child, and I wasn't about to go anywhere, so I missed the opportunity. But he would have been a wonderful person to stick with the rest of my life. If that was what happened. But he passed away not too long ago.
Oh, wow.
Daniel Green. But I've seen him many times at the international portrait conferences in different cities every year. And so, but he was the same way. He never changed. He was a very humble man, but was always so precise. Everything is so precise that, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautifully done. He's just a master at it. But anyway.
So you started seeking out these teachers and people to look at. When did you start showing in galleries? How did that come about as a part of your life?
Well, usually that's what you do.
Were you like the typical start looking and applying for shows, looking around for places that wanted to show and seeking out places to have your art put in place?
Yeah, I think sometimes the galleries will ask you.
Yes.
If you
Ours is that way.
Yeah. If you want to show, just bring me some work, and let's talk about it. And so I do it, and I had several galleries. One in Oklahoma City, and then he moved to Santa Fe, and I had it sell lots of my landscapes, especially like the one that I have in here. Because it was Santa Fe.
So, for those of you who don't know, these are several books. This one is The Best of Pastel, and there's Mitsuno Reedy. Right there with the piece.
I was telling someone, I am so honored because this is Albert Handel, who is real, almost like Daniel Green level of artist. And I'm right next to him.
And you're on the opposite page.
I was just really, and you said, how did you do it? And I didn't have anything to do with it. It was the editor who put it.
Did you go through phases where you have such, on these walls, some just stunning landscapes, really just beautiful things.
Thank you.
And did you go through phases where you worked strictly in landscapes? You always did a mix?
Landscape was, I may have told some of you, it's like an escape from difficult portraiture. Really concentrating portraiture, you have one thing in my mind, to please the customer. But landscapes, I can go off and paint whatever I want. And, if I don't do well, then I don't have to worry about it, just paint. And, I enjoyed it so much because every one of them turned out pretty good. And I framed it, and anyway, that was more like my, what do you call it, a relief.
Hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, like portraiture, a little like Mr. Green, there's a right answer. There's a face, there's a person I'm trying to represent. There's a target I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
And landscape is whatever I look at and I see that pleases me.
And then the still life was like I love flowers and dolls, and so whenever I feel like doing some still lives, I'd pick some from the garden or put it together. But a landscape was fun because the light changes in 2 hours. So you have to do it in 2 hours time, every one of them. That's done in 2 hours.
Wow.
And the pressure is there. But boy, once you're in it, you just go so fast and you don't even think about it. And
doing a still life, that's got to feel like those portraits in the mall, right? I've got an hour, I'm going, I got this much light, let's go.
Still life?
Well,
with the artificial light.
Okay. And your still lifes, do they take longer? I know that you have very much inspired, for those of you that might not know, there's another wonderful local artist named Debbie Kaspari, who's done Audubon Society birds and has done, Harvard fellowships doing plein air drawings and a lot of nature landscapes. But she's very inspired by you and her pastel work. And I love watching what she's doing with her still lifes, because now that I've gotten to know you and your still lifes a little more, I'm like, that's where all of that came from Debbie. You pick the most interesting things for still lifes.
Do I?
And I think yes, I do. There's something like around the corner here, there's a gas can, a brilliant orange gas can.
Yes. And then a light bulb.
And a light bulb. And a light bulb. Energy Duo, it's called.
Energy Duo.
Yeah, and I absolutely love it. It might be my favorite piece in the room.
Oh, thank you.
So choosing and then there's another on the wall that's your purse and coffee cup. I love that. I love it. And it's just so full of life. And it's just waiting to go.
Yes. I don't know.
How do you choose those things?
That's an interesting question. Because when I have something, when I paint something, it has to touch me somehow.
Yeah.
Make me want to paint. And so it could be just, like something that is endearing to me, or it's just at a glance. it hits me like, wow, this is beautiful, or something like that. Something always has the reason to, like the pumpkin.
Yeah.
You know, I think I painted so many pumpkins because in the fall,
Yeah.
especially when I lived in Philadelphia, I saw so many pumpkins, you know, in the fall, and they all had such characters. I have never really paid much attention to the pumpkins before, and that's why I started to paint pumpkins, and but
A moment of beauty, that moment of
that's it. But
that.
that since then I haven't felt like painting pumpkins. So I think that's how I'm just depending on how I react to the thing.
Sure. And you've got some, I know that portraiture is a lot of your work. These are the things, you've been commissioned to do portraits for artists, pieces of history, for judges, for elected officials, for CEOs of companies, and then any number of private families and individuals, children.
Oh, I have done so many children.
Yeah.
Oh, and they are wonderful. You know.
Do they sit for you?
Well, some of them, it's just the head and shoulders, yes, but
Okay.
if it's more like hand, you know, involving hands and pose, then I have to take photos.
Sure.
But you know, I'm a mother too, and the young life is it's just a fleeting time. You've got to capture. And so I have really enjoyed those children's portraits very, very much. And some of the book, albums that I have, I can't believe I've done so many, so many children.
And I can only imagine that this is really just a sample.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really just a sample.
Just a sample.
Do you have any idea how many commissioned portraits you've done over the years? If you had to hazard a guess?
Last Friday at the opening, a gentleman asked me that.
Okay.
And I thought about it, but I started to record all the details and names, addresses, and who the parents are, and all the details, size and everything. About 10 years after I started painting portraits, so there's like when I did it at the mall, I didn't know who they are.
Right.
I had no idea. And then once in a while, I guess I receive an email, and this is from someone I drew.
Wow, really?
In Austin.
Oh, that's great.
And they actually take pictures and send it to me.
Wow.
So, you don't know me, but I know you, And they say, I found you. You painted me or drew me when I was 7 years old. I was really sick that day, and my mom told me I had to go and have a picture. But she says, at that time, I was just miserable, but this is my treasure,
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, I have had several people do this to me, send me the picture.
How lovely that they come back to you.
Yeah, I would have not had any way of reaching them.
Yeah.
Because
and it wasn't like there was no cell phone for you to take a quick picture of them on to remember them. They just went out of your hands and were gone.
Just like that. So anyway,
wow.
this last Friday night, I had a man come up and said, "You painted my children, and my mother was your daughter's piano teacher." And then I said, "Oh, Mrs. so and so," and he told me all about the children and showed me the pictures. I said, "I remember them." I remember. Yes. And he said that we live in my mother's house now. I have moved away, but then came back and now live in the house. I said, "Oh, really?" I go by her house on my walk in the neighborhood. So I know where you live now, and
Wow.
this was 30 years ago. You see, that is such, and I mean it's awesome to have somebody come up and tell me, they've enjoyed the painting so much. Though it's hanging in their home, so
It's wonderful. Thank you, Mitsuno, for sharing your stories with us, for telling us about how you came to art. Your work is lovely. It's stunning, whether it's a landscape or a still life or a person's face. You capture the life in things, and it's wonderful to look at.
I hope I became creative enough, because when I first started painting, and I knew that since I was already 30 years old, and in Lubbock, when I was depressed and the doctor told me to paint, well, other people around me started painting when they were 15 years old, and so I had to find something I do better than anybody else, quick. And I knew it when I took that portrait class. Everybody looking around, I thought, this is my stuff. I'm going to have to capitalize on that. Yeah. And so I just focused on it, That was because I wanted to make something out of my career,
Beautiful magic, the way you've been able to balance. There's something practical and very personal about this, or something very personal and something very practical.
Yes. I was, I did the right thing, because I think now I'm painting everything, Mm-hmm. So it's not just the portraits. But at that time, I was needing to do the portraits alone so that I could excel in it and become good enough to be, painting college deans and judges and
senators and CEOs.
And governor.
And Luciano Pavarotti.
Yeah. Oh, that was another story.
It's a good one.
Yeah. But I have been very, very fortunate that there was a right person come along in my life who would, in a big way, assisted my career to boost up.
It's okay. I'm going to ask our friends here if they've got some questions for you. Would that be all right?
I was wondering.
Yeah. Did anybody have anything they would like to? Yes.
Yeah, one of the portraits over there, you talk about your Philadelphia experience, and could you explain how that occurred?
Philadelphia. He wondered how your Philadelphia experience occurred. When did you live in Philadelphia?
Actually, I think an art academy there.
Yeah, I have turned 71 and a half, and I guess that's when I could, with withdraw from my IRA or something. I mean, and I just decided that I need to get education, art education. I had never had exactly.
At 71.
At 71.
I love you so much.
And I just happened to see Nelson Shanks come to OU in 2006. And I went to see his art and got knocked. No, how do you say it in America?
Knocked out.
Yeah. And I thought, oh my gosh, this man is above all the people that I have admired. It's just magic. He's so good. So good, you know. I needed to study with him, but I didn't, and that was 2006. And I didn't go to that school until 2011. So I waited 5 years until I had enough money to, didn't have to work. But while I was in 4 years of school, 4 years of school, I kept on receiving commissions. So in my apartment, I painted the chief judge of, just a lady, the chief judge of, in Oklahoma City, and also college dean, and several others from Purdue University. Mm-hmm. You know, I kept on receiving, so I didn't really have to worry too much about tuition, but I was just not counting on getting any commissions. I just didn't think that they would
keep coming
when I move away, you know. One client gave up on me because I moved away, but that was what I thought. Everybody would just forget about me, but they kept on asking me to do. And so anyway, I actually wanted more academic type of training that I had missed, anatomy, and really history of realism, that all those, you know, Caravaggios and all. I took art appreciation class at OU, but it was just very shallow. You never really dug into it and actually doing it, you know. And this was it. This is what I wanted. And but things that I didn't really want so much, it was nude. We did it everywhere. We had to do it. And I have tons of nude paintings at home, but can't show it here.
We've talked about that here. You know, as a wedding venue and a train station for the public, nudes might not be our,
No.
you know.
I can understand it.
Sure.
I have it all in my bedroom.
Wow.
I don't have it in my living room.
I kind of like that, though.
You know,
now I have this image of
that's
Mitsuno's bedroom covered in nudes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But
Lovely.
last week, Debbie Kaspari,
Yeah.
she helped me with my, you know, this show thing, and she, I told her that I had a lot of paintings that I can't really sell here, and then she said, "Can I come and look at it?" Mm-hmm. And so she went through and she picked out 3 pieces.
Oh, how wonderful. Now I want to find you someplace for a show. For the things that you can't show in some of the places that wouldn't show them.
Yeah, well, I have shown them in Oklahoma City, that
Sure.
JRB gallery.
Okay, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, good.
Yeah, but one painting almost sold, but I think his wife said, if you buy another nude painting, I'm going to divorce you or something.
Okay. All right. Wow. Anybody else have a question? Thank you, Mitsuno.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for asking me the questions.
Just prompting. You're the storyteller, and your stories are lovely. You're a storyteller as well as a painter. This is why.
Oh, come on now.
When we sat in the office to put this show together and she started talking, I knew we needed to do something like this today. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate it. Feel free, stick around, take a look at the art. We'll move this table out of the way so you can get closer to some of these pieces because they're just really stunning. Thanks everybody. And if you'll bear with me for just one moment, in the beginning, before we turned the air conditioner off, we didn't catch my introduction for the recording. So I'm going to repeat myself and say, welcome everybody all over again. You couldn't control the AC, that's not you. So I'll say again, thanks everybody for being here. I'm Sherry, I'm Executive Director of the Depot, and we are thrilled to have you here in our gallery to talk today with Mitsuno Reedy. Thank you for being here, Mitsuno.
Thank you so much for having me here.
All right. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day.